Okay everyone, so today we are going to be looking at the cell cycle and mitosis. Okay, mostly focusing on mitosis in relation to that. So just so you're aware, cells spend most of their lives in something that we call the interphase. And during the interphase, that's when the cells grow and they duplicate their DNA. So the two main things they do during this part of their life: they grow, they replicate their DNA, they grow some more. So that's happening for the majority of the cell's lifetime. But then they begin to undergo a process called mitosis. There we go. So yeah, they undergo a process called mitosis, which ultimately results in two new identical cells being made, which is really important to allow the body to grow and to repair. So it's happening constantly. New cells are being made through mitosis to replace old cells and to allow growth to happen. Nearly all body cells do mitosis and are made through mitosis. The one exception is the gametes. So gametes are sperm and eggs. They're made through a process called meiosis, which we'll study later in the week. We call the cells that have been made diploid. So the cells made through mitosis are diploid, meaning they have two sets of each chromosome. So it's important that you can recognize the stages of mitosis from diagrams. So I'm going to go through just a couple of diagrams that I've made. They're pretty simple, but you'll have a chance to look at some more professionally made ones in the slides, and you can have a look in Google as well. But to begin with, I've got the interphase. Now, the interphase is technically not a part of mitosis. It's just what happens before mitosis begins. So at this stage, like I said before, the cell is just growing and replicating its DNA. At this stage, the DNA is just a sort of mass in the nucleus. The DNA hasn't formed the chromosomes that we normally associate with DNA. So it's just a mass of DNA in the middle of the nucleus at this point. Then when the prophase happens, so the nuclear membrane dissolves, so the boundary of the nucleus dissolves, and the chromosomes form. So I've just done 4 chromosomes here. In humans, there are 46. But as well as that, the chromosomes forming, these two things here that we call the spindles also form. So that's the prophase. The nuclear membrane dissolves, the chromosomes form, and the spindles appear. And then in the metaphase, the next phase, the chromosomes line up along the middle of the cell, and the spindles bring out these fibers. I've got lines there, and they attach to the chromosomes. Now, what those fibers are there to do is they will actually pull the chromosomes apart. Okay, so they attach to them and they pull them apart. So the anaphase is when that happens. So they begin pulling them apart. And remember, like we say, a big part that happens during the interphase is the DNA will be replicated. So when this happens, the correct amount of DNA goes into the new cells because they replicated their DNA before this. So that's the anaphase. The spindle fibers, which is what these are called, pull the chromosomes apart. And then finally, in the telophase, they finish separating. The spindles and the spindle fibers disappear, the nuclear membrane reforms, and the cells are really now about to separate. And when they do separate, that's called cytokinesis. Okay, so cytokinesis is when the cells split apart after all the processes in the nucleus that we've looked at have happened. And after that, we're left with 2 identical, what we call daughter cells. Okay, so that's the basics of mitosis. Just have a watch through that again, make sure you understand what's happening in each phase, and also have a look at the resources on Google Classroom in relation to that, and then move on to the classwork and let me know if you need any help via Zoom. Next lesson on Wednesday, we'll begin having a look at meiosis, which I briefly mentioned earlier. So mitosis makes nearly all of the body cells, but sperm and eggs, what we call the gametes, are made through meiosis, and that's what we'll be looking at later in the week, how that process happens. Okay, thanks.